Pay your writers or we'll spoil succession. Just one of the signs people are holding up. Hollywood film and television writers are on strike, 11,500 of them in total. It is the first time in 15 years since the members, represented by the Writers Guild of America, have been on the picket lines. The contract between the studios and the writers has expired without a renegotiated deal. One of those members is Colin Friesen, joining us now, former Manitoban, now a screenwriter and director in Hollywood. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here, as always.
Rod Brunush is an interim CEO and film commissioner for Manitoba Film and Music, also on the line here. Hi, Rod.
Great to be here, Faith.
Colin, let's start with you. How would you describe the mood down there in Hollywood?
Resigned, cranky, but, writers are always cranky, so that's actually nothing new. I have actually yet to get out to the picket line today. They just went up this afternoon, so I can't quite speak to that, but... I talked to a casting director friend of mine a little earlier today who just yelled at me that this should not have happened, and I needed to fix it somehow. So, I'm trying to stay off social media right now because everyone has suddenly become an expert in Writers Guild contracts just overnight. It's absolutely amazing.
And help us appreciate what's happening here. What do you make of some of the sticking points of those negotiations, and what is at stake here?
Oh, gosh. How long do you have?
4 minutes left.
There you go. There's a lot of moving parts here. Let me sort of give you the simplified version. People tend to think screenwriting is a super glamorous profession. But if you're not like David E. Kelly or Shonda Rhimes, it's really kind of a middle-class slog. And the WGA has been saying, and they're right, that over the last decade, average salaries have declined 23% for writers when you factor in inflation. So here's the problem in a nutshell. Back in the day, you would go to work on a TV show with maybe a dozen other writers. There were 24 episodes. You'd go into syndication. The show would run forever, and you'd get paid residuals on that work. But today, thanks to streaming services and players like Netflix and Amazon and Apple, there are more shows with fewer episodes. They hire fewer writers and pay them less. And the killer is there's almost no residual stream. So the work you do is it's like thanks and see you later. It's kind of like when a band cuts an album and they play the songs on the radio. That band gets a royalty every time that song is played. It's only fair. But what the current system has sort of evolved to down here has changed that, and we're trying to change it back so that you can actually make a living as a mid-level screenwriter in Los Angeles.
Rod, there's been a bit of talk about this for some time now, but the job action is official. From your perspective, how concerned are you about how this might affect productions in Manitoba?
Well, first off, Marcy, I just want to extend our appreciation to the writers, and there's no question that in these inflationary times, a living wage is important for these important parts of our industry. As we look at what these impacts might be here in Manitoba, we view it maybe from the perspective of us being a little further down the river in terms of impacts, though they could come sooner than one might imagine, especially if this strike goes a long time. We're not impacted in the same way as the nightly talk shows. Those will be impacted immediately. In fact, I think they're all running reruns this week, and then of course, the weeklies like a Saturday Night Live will be impacted immediately as well. Some of the series that has already been discussed, those will be impacted, I think, sooner. A lot of the work we do here is features, and in theory, those scripts have been written and in the can. Rewrites could be impacted, but I think a longer strike would impact what we see coming to Manitoba down the pipe.
Colin, we talked about this just before we went on air here about the people's expectations of what might happen. Can you talk more about what your expectations of the immediate effect of this strike?
Well, everybody's all pissy right now. So the Writers Guild is off in their corner, and the studios are off in their corner. So there won't be any immediate back-channel negotiations that happen. But in a couple of days, all of a sudden, and we won't hear about it, but things will start to sort of open up. And then we'll hear that they're scheduled to maybe have talks in about a week or so. And then hopefully they can put this thing to bed. But, the writers are... we're like I said, we're not a really militant bunch, but we always feel sort of set upon by the studio system from way back in the day when producers would take names off of movies, that take the writers' names off a movie and put their mistress's name up there instead because, hey, who cares? They're just writers. So there's always been a feistiness to the entire process. But I remain hopeful that, cooler heads and we can come to some sort of deal that is fair to absolutely everybody involved.
Rod, Manitoba Film and Music is kind of in the middle of all of this, right? Because you support both sides of this labor dispute. What do you expect your role to be as this job action continues?
Well, Faith, we do support both sides. Our role here is to grow our industry in Manitoba, which represents both labor and producers. And so, anything we can do to be an intermediary, we will take that opportunity. But at the end of the day, we're just hopeful for a conclusion to this strike, and we're hopeful that both sides will come to the table and solve it.
Colin, at what point do you think viewers will start to notice something different on their televisions and on their streaming platforms?
Yeah, well, as you guys have already pointed out, talk shows, if they're not going dark, then those are sort of the first ones that will be impacted. Normally, there are shows in the can or scripts in the can, and some shows work 2 or 3 episodes ahead. Some shows a little closer to the bone, they work one ahead. So I would say in a couple of months on the TV side, but they also knew the strike was coming. So they may have put things into high gear to try and, make sure that things are all there and ready to go to get to the end of the season, which, coming into the summer, that's traditionally when the TV season ends and they go into reruns anyway. So that may have been a bit of a strategic move or a failed strategic move on the part of the Writers Guild. I'm not sure.
Appreciate your time today, Colin. Thank you and take good care.
Absolutely. Thanks.
And thank you as well, Rod, for making time today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Colin Friesen, former Manitoban, now living in Hollywood. He is one of 11,500 unionized writers on strike in the U.S. You also heard from Rod Brunush, interim CEO and film commissioner for Manitoba Film and Music.
Thank you for watching the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For the latest breaking news and top stories, download the CBC News app.